Okay, welcome to the Boostly podcast. On this podcast, we give you the tools, the tactics, the training, most importantly, the confidence that you can go and get more direct bookings. We do a mini series on this podcast where we interview amazing people from all over the globe. And we've got an amazing guest on this episode. This is where we shine the Boostly spotlight. We're shining it on Garrett Brown. He leads the short-term rental content for BiggerPockets. And most people here will have heard of BiggerPockets, but if you haven't, where have you been? It's one of the world's biggest real estate platforms. Garrett has also got experience firsthand with STR. He's an investor. He's a co-founder of a glamping business, and he's just someone who you need to know about and listen to for the lessons and the tips that we're going to pick up from him today on this episode. So welcome along, Garrett. Thank you for joining us today on the Boostly podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm happy to teach everybody my mistakes so they can learn from them. So it's going to be exciting.
100%. So how did you get into short-term rentals? Give us the history.
Yeah, so I went to school for hotel management actually in college at the Conrad Hilton, who started all the Hilton hotels. He went to school in the University of Houston. He started his own college there. I went down the route and graduated from that college thinking I was going to do something more in the restaurant field possibly. But as time went on, I got further into real estate. I became a real estate agent and I was, kind of enamored by the investing side of it. And I found BiggerPockets. I started researching everything, learning everything about the investing side and was like, all right, I need to I was an agent and I was working with all these investors and they were making so much money on deals. And I was like, okay, I have to learn this because everybody's making all the deals and I'm the one just like helping facilitate them. I started flipping houses, buy and holds, multifamilies, everything under the sun. And then about 2018, I heard about, short-term rentals and Airbnb. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. Like maybe my hotel background will help me with, the hospitality side of it. I had an investor I was working with. He was about to sell 3 small condos in downtown Houston. This was 2019 when you could throw an air mattress in a place and probably make some money on Airbnb. And he was thinking about selling them. And I was like, hey, like they were pretty cheap, but they were in a decent area of town. I was like, what if I bought them from you all together as like, a package deal and we work it out? And he was like, I'm fine with that. Let's do it. We set it up. I got a pretty good deal. I put them on Airbnb, started making pretty good money. I was making an extra, each unit was giving me like $1,000 or $2,000 in my pocket each month. And I lived near them. So it was super easy to manage them. But then all the big money started coming into Houston and COVID hit and all this happened. And that's when where short-term rentals will shine is like having really cool, unique stays. And so that's when I dove into the glamping side of stuff. This was 2021. I started my company, Cameron Ranch Glamping, which we now have over 25 glamping units between three different sites in Texas. We've grossed over $1 million each year for the past couple of years with that company. And I also manage another co-host, whatever glorified word you want to use, another 10 units in the short-term rental world, all within the same different areas too. And I've been with BiggerPockets now for a couple of years. I've been making content forever in the short-term rental space. And it just happened to work out about the same time they needed to really develop the vertical over there for all the short-term rental content and like the short-term rental investing side. They've been kind of known more as, long-term investing, more multifamily and things. So, but a lot of they were getting 20% of their audience wanted more short-term rental education. And somehow they found me and decided to give me a microphone and a YouTube channel and a newsletter. And so here I am teaching everybody every day.
We're glad they did, 100%. We wouldn't be having this. And is there any stage where you just think, I should have gone into restaurants instead of all this, like instead of that?
There's a couple times, but honestly, the restaurant business is such a bad business. Like I worked in restaurants. I was a waiter, bartender. My aunt has a cooking school. I worked with her. I saw the writing on the wall there too. And I was like, I definitely don't want to do that for paper thin margins. So I made the right choice now.
100%. Better to be in control of the asset, isn't it? But I do think that I think that should be like, sort of like, people who go to like combat experience and stuff like this should be like, everyone should have to go and work in hospitality, either in a restaurant or in a hotel,
100%.
and have to do this, because it seems
100%.
to be so much nicer than the people who haven't worked in it. So
Yeah. I say that all the time. Everybody should be a waiter or hospitality for at least 6 months out of their life. It's just kind of a life-changing perspective for you in a good way.
definitely, and it can be fun as well. There
Yeah.
is fun to it. So you mentioned BiggerPockets, and obviously the huge community across there with all of the hosts, and you must see some questions which come in quite often. What would you say is the most often asked question in the BiggerPockets community regarding STR, or the one that you get probably more than any other?
I'd say there's two, and a couple years ago, every question, the questions change every year, because the thing about the short-term rental market is, while it's maturing, it also is ever evolving too. I'd say the two biggest three. I'll correct that. Of the first two I was going to say is like, what market should I invest in? Which everybody always wants to think that there's some secret hidden market out there that nobody knows about,
Yeah.
And another question right now, because not as many people are buying. 2 years ago was a buying spree. Now I think everybody is trying to figure out how to make more money with the property they already have, whether that's design, redesign, amenities, marketing. How can they not go buy another property but increase their profits? And then the third one that I will add, just because it's so new, and just talking with everybody I do in the space, is everybody is trying to buy a short-term rental right now because of the 100% bonus depreciation coming back in the United States in particular, which is they call it the short-term rental tax loophole, which it's not even a loophole. It's in the tax code for the IRS in the United States, where if you buy, this is I'm not a CPA, but this is a very quick synopsis of it. If you buy a property this year, put it into, use and on sites before the end of the year, and get a few bookings in, and you actively manage it. If you have a higher active income with your day job, you can offset some of those losses by doing a cost segregation study on the property.
Nice.
So if people understand that probably made a little sense to them, but it probably sounded like broken English to some other ones. So basically what I'm going to say is, talk to your CPA and research the short-term rental, loophole bonus depreciation. If you're curious about that, don't just go out and buy a property just to try to take advantage of some tax savings, because you might end up, in a worse position than you're in. So those are the three biggest topics I've seen in the past few months.
And I know with those questions, you've touched on the answer to the third one, but with those questions, I mean, they're pretty big questions. I mean, I guess the answer to the first one is like, hey, there isn't special market. Go and do your own research. There's, there's tools out there, isn't there? But with that second question, as you say, a lot of people are now in a position to be consolidating, trying to make the most out of what they already have instead. Is there any quick wins that you can, what would be your most go-to answer for those questions?
One, I mean, since we are on the Boostly podcast, I'll 100% agree, as somebody that does 75% direct bookings myself, is to not underestimate the power of a direct booking website. And also, don't get discouraged because you make a direct booking website and you have it up for like a month and you're not getting any direct bookings. And it's like, oh, well, like this is a fail. It's like, no, it took me 2.5 years to get to 75% direct bookings. And that's because I put a massive plan of action to get to there. And as we both know, Airbnb just made another huge shift. I actually was talking to Mark this morning in an email. He's going to come chat with me soon about that. But now they are about to charge hosts 15%. They're taking away their guest service fee, charging hosts 15.5%. And, there's a couple of different variables there. But it's just another point of reason to why building your own infrastructure on the marketing side is so important. And people think because not everybody has these one-of-a-kind properties and these super unique stays that they're like, oh, I'll never get any traction on my direct booking website. But they overlook the power of, search engine optimization, having a really good website that targets the keywords. If you have a couple vacation rentals and they're just regular places, up the decor, up the amenities, look at your competition in your area. But the main thing is, like, build that direct booking site that caters to that target traveler. So for example, I have quite a few, they're lakefront properties, but they're not super unique or anything wild. They're just good, solid vacation rentals. But it's called Lake Livingston in an area I'm in. I make sure that my website is targeting the search engine optimization for any person that is coming to search for Lake Livingston vacation rentals or Lake Livingston cabins, I am going to pop up near Airbnb and all these things like that. People underestimate the power that you actually can put into your own website, and are afraid to spend money on a good website, and are afraid to spend money on making sure the SEO strategy behind it is right. They'll just build a website and then it has, it's just a terrible user experience. There's no SEO behind it. And it's just, they're wondering why they're never getting any traction. But spend a little money up front on those tools and really focus on how you can cater to that person. Like, get in the mind of the person that would be coming to search for a place like you. They're probably getting on Google. They're probably typing XYZ area vacation rental or XYZ cabin. And you need to be one of the first people that pop up there, because the competition's a lot less, I feel like, on the organic SEO side than it is in the paid advertising side, and even on the, social media side. So there's opportunities to both.
We had a guest on recently, and he's an SEO expert, and he said that the trouble is most people are trying to compete at the hardest level by going, like places in New York, places to stay in New York. Well, the big guys are probably going to outbid you on a lot of that stuff. But actually, and there's an example that he used where a host has got higher than Airbnb and came up before Airbnb, before Booking.com. And that's because they said specifically, I want to target people who are working in the Amazon warehouse down the road. It's what brings people to my
100%.
rental. And they managed to, anybody who said, where do I stay, working in for Amazon or whatever, and it always comes up top, and the variations of all that. And it goes to show, like, as you say, is if you can niche down, if you can make sure that you're either the most pet friendly or the most boutique design or the most colorful or the most family friendly or whatever it is, it's really niching down, isn't it? And it's great to see.
Yeah. People think like, and that's a great point, because it's like, you're not going to compete at, vacation rentals in Texas, like figure out what they're exactly searching for to come to your area. But then the other thing, people think like blogs are dead and all this stuff too. I even was looking at our analytics before we got on for one of my websites, and I have my assistants write blogs for me. And sometimes they're always like, oh, we just wrote a blog on this, why we have to do it. I went and looked in the analytics, and I had made them write a romantic couples getaway, the best romantic couples getaways in Texas. And I looked at it this morning, and it was our third highest performing link on Google Analytics and all that, because people are searching romantic couples getaways in Texas. And we niched down and started to really, find out like what our demographic is. And those are like very simple, very cheap ways to increase your SEO. Everything doesn't have to be a paid ad. That was a, no pay that we ended up getting 500 clicks in a couple of days from this one random blog article that we're not blog article writers, or at least my assistant isn't. So it's like, you don't have to have some special skill set to do it.
You don't, but the benefit of that blog is it's evergreen as well, because what you're going to get is come February or the end part of January, when people are thinking about Valentine's Day, that blog is going to move to number one, because
100%.
people are going to be looking at it. And every year that blog will it'll resurface just because it's evergreen. And this is the thing that, the one thing that struck me straight away is to get to that 75% direct bookings. You didn't just write one blog and like, suddenly you're at 75. It's that blog, it's the next blog, it's the SEO, it's the branding, it's the experience, it's the reviews. It's all these little nudges. And I was talking to my marketing VA before this, just saying, look, if it's a little nudge, but often, that's actually good enough, because 100%. Them nudges are going to compound, over time. But what is one thing, especially new hosts, do you think underestimate in the STR world?
I mean, I think people underestimate. I think we had so many people selling this to make $20,000 a month, and it's completely passive on Airbnb. And like I think everybody kind of underestimated how much. I don't want to say how much work it takes, because the thing I have found, I think they underestimate how much work it takes up front. Because the thing that's really cool with short-term rentals right now, especially compared to 5, 6, 7 years ago, is that there's so many software features out there now that you can pretty much automate 80 to 90% of your business there. There's times where you need the human touch, give a guest a digital hug, as I like to call it, just in case they need something. But for the most part, it can be kind of automated, but it takes a lot of work up front to get that automation, understand it, try out, you'll have a few issues that fall through the crack, and then it's your job to solve those issues within the automation it's just basically like greasing the wheel. Like anytime there's anything that like kind of hiccups, you go in and fix it, and you eventually are like such a fine-tuned machine that even me right now, like I work a full-time job, I manage 30 units, like I have a team of 4 people under me, but for the most part, a lot of it is still automated, even with like AI tools and all this too. So I think the biggest thing I think people underestimate is, one, like the cost of actually getting into this. You can be creative and get into creative deals for sure. They're out there, but people underestimate that you're usually going to need a little money to get started in the short-term rental world. I've heard other people do stuff, but that is a big thing. And then it's going to take some work up front. It's not going to be a thing where you just snap your fingers and launch the property and you're making a bunch of money. There's some operations and systems that need to be set in place, but really good software tools and a really good product make everything else way easier for you to begin with.
I think the that point of your people needing to know there's work involved is so important. But that automation, I mean, this summer that I've just had a similar sized business, and this summer I've just had is probably my easiest summer ever, and I'm managing the most units. And I'm thinking, well, what is the difference? Well, it's actually that it's reps. It's reps. We've got the automated messages. We've tweaked them and changed them so much over the years that we've now got to a stage where there's not that much human interaction. And we do call guests from time to time. We do have conversations, or if they ask for genuine recommendations, we're not just a company with just AIs them and stuff like that. But when you do that and you're just seeing these 5-star reviews coming in based on the automation, and especially the messages that I recommend anybody listening put out, is I have a check-in email. So, hey, it's Liam here, just checking in. This is the first morning. Is everything all right? And that's as basic as it is. And I don't sign off with like kind regards or any of the normal company crap that you put on the emails. They genuinely think it's me just checking in with them, and of course it's not. But my team has got a response, depending on their answer, as to what to do. We've got the SOP set up, but it's just one of those ones where the more automated you are, the better. But I think back to that first time that I was setting up on the very first unit, building the first automation, thinking, well, what do I put? How do I do it? How often do you send a message? And it's a nightmare at first, but the only way you can do is to test it and to listen to podcasts like this and experience, isn't it? So it's very cool. You mentioned glamping. What is a key lesson that you took from your glamping business?
It's definitely more work. I think there's a few things. If you're buying an already made, glamping business or anything like that, like you'll have a lot of things set up. It's more work on the landscaping than people will tell you. There's a lot of like upkeep on the outside of the property, which cost a lot. But that's why some of these glamping sites cost so much to stay in. But the other thing is, if you're building a glamping site, is underestimating how much it costs to put infrastructure in too. So people think, I can slap up a cheap, that's, kind of go hand in hand. Is you hear people think like, oh, I'll buy some really cheap land in the middle of nowhere. I'll slap up some of these $1,000 safari tents and, these $2,000 super cheap geodomes, and we're going to crush it. We're going to charge $500 a night. And they don't understand that like those products are cheap for a reason. You're going to be replacing them over and over. Guests are going to hate them. There's like roads and electricity and water and sewer and all these cost way more than you're thinking. Whatever you're thinking those utilities and infrastructure costs, probably go ahead and triple that, depending just to how the times are now. And so, but that's where the opportunity is there too, though. So I think the one thing that I think that I see a lot of glamping people do is they think it's like a really cheap thing to get into, and you can make it that way, but you're going to have really cheap rents. You're going to have not as desirable of a guest pool, I would say. So usually going cheap is going to bite you in the butt later on. I would spend a little money up front. And I personally, I would never build another soft-sided structure. I built several of them.
Mhm.
I only like hard-sided structures. They're way easier to maintain. They have a little more asset value. They're easier to climate control, all the things you can think of. So that was one, but when you're starting out, the soft-sided structures are kind of enticing because even the really good ones, like my Geodome is from a company called Pacific Domes here in the US. It was about $18,000 with shipping and a
Mhm.
liner and all these things, but it's a super high quality product and it does really well. Would I, like I love it. Would I build another soft sided one, even if it was high quality? Probably not. But it was a good entry for me to get into this space
Mhm.
and I learned a ton. So, the glamping industry, it's one of those things that I would 100% make sure that you understand how much work it's going to take to keep the landscaping look really nice. And then don't go cheap on your structure just because you saw somebody else, do it before. It's going to be a nightmare for you in the end of it.
Whenever I think of glamping, especially here in the UK, like I think the only way to do it, and this might be one of those kind of myths, or I don't know anything about glamping at all. So I think if I was going to do it, you've kind of got to go down that really high end niche where it has got hot tubs or saunas. And is this the sort of thing that you do, or is it more of a family kind of vacation, or is it varied across your glamping business?
R- Excuse me. Right now, we hammer down on the romantic couples getaways, super
Yeah.
high end luxury, hot tubs, excuse me, saunas, everything at the site. It's performed really well. We have
Mhm.
crushed it for a lot of different reasons. But the thing about glamping is you can go two routes pretty much. You can go the super high end, less units on pieces of land route, or you can go the put 20 or 30 geodomes or whatever you want to do on like a smaller piece of property, and they share a lot of communal things, and you go more
Mhm.
family and have a little lower rates. My advice for that, because both of them could work. That's the thing. I know people that crush it with that model, with
Mhm.
more family style, a little cheaper, and I know obviously people that crush it with the luxury end. I think the luxury model is becoming a little oversaturated. Actually, I think everybody is trying to go to that route because it's does well on social media and it's kind of like the hot topic and buzzword and all this stuff. But there's still a ton of opportunity there.
Mhm.
But even as we are expanding now, my next build is going to be more of the mid-priced glamping experience because the thing I have seen is we get so much traffic to our websites, but our conversion rates are not very good. One, we don't have enough units. We need more units that fit a particular model that we're looking for. But the other thing is our like price. Like we get so many people that are like, man, like how expensive can you be? And at some point too, like you have to remember, like people will just they'll go to Mexico and go on a cruise or something before they start spending $1,000 a night
Mhm.
in the middle of nowhere Texas. So you got to be like reasonable with your rates. But the thing we're missing, we're getting all this traffic but we're not able to capture a lot of it because the masses really sit in that 150 to $300 price range,
Yeah.
more than the 400 to 600. You still get a ton there, but the biggest advice I have for anybody though is why I decided the luxury route is I went and stayed at a bunch of glamping sites. I went and stayed at ones that had 20 or 30 dome tents. I went and stayed at ones that were super high end luxury. I went and tried different things to see what I personally liked and what I thought I could replicate and like what I would want, because I kind of felt like me and my girlfriend, girlfriend at the time, wife now, thought that it would be like, what would we want to stay in? Because we were kind of the target demographic. But you may go out there and go, I hate these super high end ones. I like the communal feel, and I
Mhm.
want the feeling of that too. And so that may be the route you go, or you could be like me, where you have a little mix. I would pick one of them, go see which ones you like, and then hammer down on that niche at first. And then once you start to get a lot more traction, you can look at like maybe expanding the portfolio to hit a little more of the target, more target and masses that you want to. So both of them can be successful though. That's the thing about it, is it's really just knowing your niche and then like hammering down on that exact niche and not trying to be everything for everybody.
I like it. I like it, especially, here in the UK, especially where I am, there's one place which sticks out as the best kind of, and it's not so much glamping. They've got these amazing kind of, it was a pub, a British pub, as you get, and out the back they basically built these wooden kind of rooms, and each one's got its own sauna, like steam room,
Nice.
and like cold bucket and stuff like that. And it started off as a really simple idea. Now it is by far the number one place to go to. Anybody who says place with like steam room, hot tub, something a bit special, a bit high end romance, and that's the number one place. Which
Nice.
and they've done it before anybody else locally. And you look at it and just go, wow, there's still a lot of demand for that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Especially the opportunity is still huge, I think.
Yep.
So, and this may be the same answer to that question, but I'll ask anyway. But I was gonna, is there an overlooked kind of guest type in the market segment that people should be considering more? Obviously, we've just talked about high-end luxury. Is it that, or should they be looking at some other direction?
I don't want to give away too much of my plans because I don't want everybody to take it from me. But nah, I mean, honestly, like I said, I think the high end luxury market is growing. It's one of the biggest segments. Like if you look at all the research, like like the health and wellness trends are just exploding with the amount of people money spend. I personally, like I said, I think that every single person is trying to go that route. So I think having really cool, unique stays that are more affordable for the masses probably will suit some people better. But I think the real niche that people are missing, and I think it's obvious to a lot of people, but I'm not saying anything groundbreaking, is the pet friendly market. There's a lot of pet friendly places, but I think, and one of my plans with some of my new places is like a very dog centric focused place that almost like where you cater to the dog more than the person.
Yeah.
I think that is where the gap is in the market, and particularly where I'm looking at. So anybody else out there has been kind of kicking the tire and thinking about it, I think, and I know the data will back me up on this. I'm anecdotally saying this right now, but we all know pet friendly filters on Airbnb are probably the most searched and all that. I think that a dog centric or pet centric, whatever you want to say, like focused place that to where it's where you're catering to the dog could possibly like crush it and explode. And like there's a lot of reasons why like I think that, but we all know that people will pay top dollar to take their dogs places, and the accommodations don't have to be anything that is just out of this world expensive. That's when you can kind of balance the masses pricing, but then like get these pet fees and these like all these add-ons you're selling and all this stuff too. So without like going too much of a geeked rabbit hole, I would say that is where somebody could really crush it in the market right now, pretty much anywhere they wanted to.
You've got my mind whirring on that one, because people do just spend so much money on their pet. And like you say, if I think there needs to be another setting on short-term rentals, so instead of just pet friendly, it should say, because some places aren't pet friendly, they're pet tolerable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you can bring your pet, don't have them in this room, don't have them upstairs, don't do this, there's no fun,
lock them in the car,
yeah, exactly. all this stuff. So but actually, when we talk about being pet friendly, the type of place you go where there actual are dog treats or a dog like where there's the walk route is all decided, there's a map wall of every walk the dog will enjoy, all of that sort of stuff is super cool. So I love that answer.
And pets, the thing like my marketing brain thinks of too is two of the most popular things on social media are really cool vacation rentals and pets and dogs. You combine both of those, like, oh man, you've got virality almost every time you post. So it's kind of like a win-win. So yeah, if you anybody paying attention and following me on social media or anything like that, hopefully in the next year I have moved forward on this dog centric glamping units.
I love it. I'm definitely going to be following you on there. So I've got to ask, because it is the buzzword AI. What is your take on AI in STR at the moment?
So I mean, I love AI. I think it has a tremendous use. I think of it more as a tool, more than like replacing people. Like everybody is like, oh, I'm using AI to replace my VAs and all this. And it's like I use HostBuddy AI, which a lot of people know. Jay's a great guy. I've known him a couple years now. And him and Sam developed a great product. There's a couple others out there that compete, but sometimes like HostBuddy is an even better host than like me or my VAs, just like time they answer, all these things. But there's a lot of things that and I said mentioned it earlier, like sometimes guests just need a digital hug, and they can't really get that from an AI sometimes. Sometimes
Yeah.
they need to hear a human voice or just have that you can tell it's a human on the other line. AI is so good now that it is hard to tell, but we use AI as a tool. Host Buddy, like I have my VAs go in and they're monitoring all the messages. They're using it together in unison. But the cool thing I think about AI that I think people a little bit underestimate, which, again, maybe this is just my guest experience marketing brain. Um, once we talked about earlier, like, you build out your systems, you build out your operations, it takes some time. The cool thing is once you get it maximized, now you can sit back and go, okay, I have this set up. It's going to be constantly changing, but how can I optimize this? So like we use now, like, how can I increase the guest experience? How can I increase like all the efficiency, everything there too? So like one way we've been doing recently is after I kind of stood back and I was like, all right, I want to increase the guest experience even more. Like we had been doing handwritten notes to people, like, and it was become like my cleaners would forget. It was just like, it was, and I got at it was just one of those things that it was operationally, it was becoming a little harder to keep up. So I told one of my VAs what I want to start doing is I used to make music and all, so I love music and being creative. I told him, I was like, let's find out the guest details that they're coming for. Like, are they celebrating a birthday? All like we ask all these in our automated messages, like, are you celebrating anything? Like, how'd you hear about us? Where are you coming from? All that. We get all that information. I have them, my VA, one VA particular, feed it into Chat GPT, make song lyrics, take
Oh,
those song lyrics, put it into an AI song generator, make a song, and then a couple days before their stay, we send them this link and tell them we made this special song for them. The amount of people that have commented on this song recently, thinking one in reviews saying like they made us a song, they were amazing. Like I didn't think it was going to have this much impact, but the amount of people that actually think we like hire a singer to go in and like send them this stuff, like people have been like, oh my God, she has such an amazing voice and like all these things too. But it's just one of those things that's like, what are things that other people aren't doing? And like, what is going to be like a weird, like people be like, oh, that's kind of corny, or, oh, and it's like, no, like it's not. It's like you're adding more memories to this stay. Like these people,
oh yeah.
like, this is their getaway, especially like in my places, like they are probably spending their hard earned paycheck on like the most expensive, stay they're going to have in the next few months or the whole year, or whatever. And so, like, how can we make this as memorable and special as possible? And so like using AI to do things like that, like we also, like in conjunction, my VAs use AIs to give them like exact recommendations for itineraries for the weekend. Like if they tell us, hey, we're going to be here for 3 days, like how, what restaurants should we go to? And what, how can we rent a boat? And it's like, put it together. My VA already has a good idea. Put it into Chat GPT or Claude or whatever you want to use, and then send them a really nice detailed itinerary. Some guests love that, so it's a tool. It's not something going to replace everybody. You're not going to be able to be you and AI against the world, just nobody helping you and all that. Like it will make your business so much more efficient and operational. And it does like help you scale faster without having to keep hiring and hiring. And you can add on smarter as opposed to like maybe, hiring a little too quick sometimes. So
100%. And picking up on those threads, there's two things I just want to come back on. And this is where a few years into the business, when you're calibrating, it's a bit like when you're tuning a petrol engine. Instead of having to build it from scratch, you're basically there just tuning little bits and pieces using AI and using, automations, testing different things. It's actually some of the most fun time, isn't it? When you're
for sure.
tweaking instead of building from scratch.
Absolutely.
And that idea about the song is just genius. That's the first I've heard of
Nice.
this. There is it Sumo or something? There's a song generating app called Sumo.
There's a few of them. Yeah, I think
yeah.
I pay like $10 a month. I can't even remember the name. Like my VA,
Yeah.
it's some random one. Like I'm sure the songs honestly
Yeah.
sound terrible, but apparently they're working for
Well,
$10 a month.
I've tested these
Yeah.
songs, and I actually put about our brand and thought maybe I could have that as the background in one of the promo videos and stuff like that. And they're actually all right. I can't wait until there's a device. And you said about those handwritten notes, because we still do exactly that. We get our cleaner, they can see on Breezeway, the handwritten note or whatever it is, and they just do, hey, Garrett, enjoy your stay. Hope you enjoy celebrating your birthday. Whatever it is a little handwritten note. But the trouble is with that, like you say, everyone's human. People forget. You never want to leave the wrong name because it's worse than not leaving a note. Do you know what I mean? That sort of stuff. But I can't wait until there's an AI kind of version where you have them photo frames that you have where people used to just plug it in our photos. There must be a way of having one of those where when guests walk in on entry, our API system would just know their name and be like, "Hey, Garrett, thanks for joining today." That would be mega, wouldn't it? Right.
So I haven't used this product yet, but I was researching it last night.
Mhm.
Have you heard of Welcome Screen yet? I don't even know the guy. Okay, so this is gonna be a great advertisement for this guy.
Yeah.
So apparently, like, 'cause you know how when you walk into like hotels and they'll have
Mhm.
like welcome, Garrett,
On the
welcome, whatever.
screen.
Like
Yeah.
and like this guy now has it's integrated with Logify and all these things that you can put that on your like Roku TV screen. He has like a welcome screen thing that you can leave a message on it. You can have like your Wi-Fi QR code, have a specialized song, I think, on it, like all
Nice.
these cool things to it. And I'm kind of diving into it now, and so I don't know about the product. I personally don't use it, but there are things starting to pop
Yeah,
up like that,
yeah.
So it's like
That
it's going to be
personal
really
touch.
cool to see the future. Yeah.
Yeah. That personal touch. Where I want to get to though is where it's actually me, an AI
Ah,
version, where it is actually
that'd be cool.
hey, Garrett, hope you
I
enjoy
like
this.
that.
And they'll think that's a personally recorded video. You
Nice.
know what I
I
mean? Like
like it.
we can't be far off that. And hopefully, in the future we'll be. And do you remember when
Well,
we talked about that? That's so
yeah,
fun.
so we might need to cut this part out the podcast so you
Yeah,
can come up
exactly.
with
Let's go
it.
and create this.
Nah,
Um,
that's very cool. That'd be awesome. But who
yeah.
knows where these things? It's going to be like evolutionary how these things develop over the next few years
Oh,
for sure.
it's so exciting, isn't it? Especially with AI and that side of things. So I'm going to skip ahead a couple of questions because we've dived into so much value already. But I want to know: is there tech and tools that you rely on? You mentioned Host Buddy AI, which we've had Sam on the podcast. I've got
Yep.
drunk with him in London. Nice
Nice.
story. Yeah. But is there things that you rely on, or ones that you'd want to just give a shout out to that you use and you've found works for you and your businesses?
Yep, for sure. My core three, the ones I tell everybody about is I use Logify for my property management system. There's a lot of them out there that are really good. So just try things out and see what works for you.
Mhm.
I use Price Labs for my dynamic pricing, which is huge. Definitely best. There's that highly recommend them compared to a lot of other options you have out there for a few different reasons. And then Turno is my cleaning operations and things are broken and like handy things there. Those are like I call them the holy trinity, basically, of our setup. But then at the same time, we also, if you're really starting to build this out as like a team and a business, like which I am doing now personally, we have like my team. We have an open phone, which is an app that you can have a business line in. You can have your VAs get within it. It's a super cool tool. It integrates with HostBuddy now as well. So super easy to communicate there. And then we use Discord. A lot of people use Slack to communicate between their teams. I use Discord. I'm a millennial and I like free. So, why not save a little money here and there when I can? I'm trying to think what are some big other ones. We use a lot, Asana for our like task management. I tried Breezeway. It was cool. It had a lot of cool features. I love the safety features and things they have within it. I personally like Turno mixed with Asana. So it does my team for a few different reasons, but that's kind of the structure we did there. And off the top of my head, those are like the main ones.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little things I use, but those, if you have that kind of in line, you're going to be pretty much ready to rock and roll all around.
100%. And this is where constantly in these forums we get asked like, "Hey, what is the best set of tech to have?" And you go, "Well, actually, you've got businesses which will grow with Turno. You've got businesses which will grow with Breezeway. You've got businesses which
100%.
will grow with every different PMS. And the trick is just find something which works for you, as long as
Yep.
it kind of does that part of the puzzle. So you can swap out, insert PMS name. Do you know what I mean? You can
Yep.
swap
Yep.
that out, but ultimately, as long as you found one that works for you and you can grow with it, then this is cool. And it's the same. You've kind of got to have like task management. You've got to have, your team. You've got to be able to communicate with your team. And across the year, I tried to get Open Phone, but it wasn't available in the UK at the time. It may now be. But there's Just Call, which is UK or European similar version. So
Yeah.
there's always something you can swap out and
Sure.
have it, which is cool. So bringing us towards the end of the podcast, what would you say real success looks like in the STR space? What should people be focused on as a host, and what should they ignore? What's the noise that they just you see too many people get caught in?
So I think the cool thing about short-term rentals, and I debate this all day, every day at Bigger Pockets, because we have 5 or 6 different head of real estate investing, data analysts, content creators, all this. We all real estate invest too, all different forms. And I think the really cool thing of short-term rentals compared to every other type is that it really fits whatever you want it to fit. If you want just one vacation home that you in an area that your family likes and you want to visit it sometimes but then still have it pay for itself, and you get the lifestyle benefits of having a vacation home in an area you've always wanted to while still making you some money and all these things there, like that is amazing. If you want to be a massive co-hosting company or own 100 rentals and all this stuff too, you can do that. That is amazing. You want to fall in between, you can do that with, and then you get the benefit of enjoying your place. You get the benefits of increasing the revenue when you want to. Like there's no other forms of real estate out there that, well, not besides commercial. There's no other form of residential real estate out there that where you can really just by doing a few things increase the amount of money you're making every single year. So success is relative, is why I'm saying all that to you, because what's success to me may not be success to you. Like I talk to people all day, and a guy that reached out to me on Bigger Pockets forums not long ago was he's like, hey, I'm curious. I'm thinking about buying a vacation rental. Like, I don't want to make a bunch of money from it, but I want a place like that my family can visit, and I get a little bit of tax benefits because I'm actively managing it, and we pretty much will pay the note and keep it running that way, and all this. And he achieved that, and now he has a house that he can go visit with his family for like a month or two. I taught him all the systems he needed to set it up to where it's pretty easy to manage by himself. Like I'd say you can manage short-term rentals by yourself with just a really good cleaner and a really good handy person and really good systems, and save that 20% from a co-host. And this is coming from somebody that manages a lot of properties, and like makes money off of that. And I tell people all the time that short-term rentals are almost as easy as to manage as a long-term rental a lot of times, sometimes even easier, because if long-term rentals, you can walk in and they could be, somebody could flood the place and never tell you and all this other crazy stuff. So kind of like as a big loop back around, the really cool thing about short-term rentals is success is what it is to you in it. So it's however you want to make it. And I think that you should go into it with the vision of where you want to be in 5 to 10 years with it, and you'll be able to set yourself up for success from the early stages. And again, what success looks like to you in 5 or 10 years, only you can decide. And that's the beauty in it.
That is a mic drop moment. I like that a lot.
Nice.
Very good, Garrett. And it's so true. I mean, I was in a mastermind meeting today where all these long-term property people were talking about how their property's been trashed and this has happened and this has happened, all long-term stuff. And I was like, well, we get to see our properties like every clean. We don't have to deal with big refurbs. If we want to, do a refurb, it's like we plan the date, we take it offline, it gets better. Then there's a sudden big cash injection afterwards where people come and stay because everything's been updated. And this is the cool thing about this industry. And the other thing is, and talking about what success means to you, and it's one of those things which I always liked is, we're all human, right? We're all only here for a short period of time, but we create memories, and usually the things we remember most is vacations, time away with family. And exactly what that person who reached out to you on the Bigger Pockets forum said, I want to create a hub for where my family go and all that stuff. Well, we're actually getting paid for people to make their best memories, and that's pretty cool, right?
Absolutely.
That's very cool. So Garrett, how do we follow you, go and find out more about Bigger Pockets or you personally or your business? Where's all the links? What should we go and do?
So you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok at Garrett Brown, RE like real estate. And then also anywhere on Bigger Pockets, I have a YouTube channel under them called Bigger Stays that, subscribe over there. We do a ton of short-term rental content. Mark has been on like 3 or 4 times now, but I think our like highest returning guest over there. And so like that's a great news resource for there, and anywhere on Bigger Pockets. I'm always in the forums in the short-term rental investing section, answering questions and putting out a ton of content over there on the blog and everything weekly.
That's cool. And all of this will be in the show notes. So if you listen to this on the podcast and it's safe to do so, and you're not driving, you can click the links in the show notes and I'll take you to these places. Was there anything we missed, Garrett? Anything to see us out? Any closing words or anything that you didn't get a chance to share?
No, I just happy to step in, and always fun to nerd out a little bit over short-term rentals and direct bookings. Those are my two things that get me out of bed in the morning. So I'm happy to chat.
100%. This has been so fun. And the number one thing I'm going to take away from this, as many people listening to this, I'm sure will come and follow you out. And I am going to follow you and follow up on the dog plan and the pet friendly stuff.
Please
But
do. Hold me accountable.
that song, the song is absolute genius. Thank you so much for coming on the Boostly podcast. We'll see you again in the future.